I know every time a team wins a championship, we have the conversation about them becoming a dynasty potentially. It happened with the Denver Nuggets, even happened with the Bucks when they won their championship. The Warriors were on the back end, so we kind of knew that was going to be like the last hurrah. But you got the Celtics who they just dominated the playoff landscape. And I think if you're a Celtics fan, you got a lot of things that you can look forward to. You just check off the box. Porzingis, if he's healthy, we're going to be even better. Jason Tatum is not going to shoot 29% on his jump shots in the playoffs. Hopefully, again, he'll be a better player. And I think there is something to be said for a team that has now lifted a huge expectation and weight off their shoulders. And this is potentially a version of the Celtics we're going to be able to see that has been the most free they've ever been. And I think that is dangerous for the rest of the league. They won't have any serious financial decisions until 25, 26. But I look at the NBA landscape right now, and I really don't see a legitimate challenger to this team. Like as of right now.
Not even Denver.
In the East. Okay. I want to preface this by saying in the East.
You're not going to respect our Knicks?
I think the Knicks got to make a move. I think we'll give them a challenge. I think we can give them, caution.
Should we draw up the perfect offseason for the Knicks to compete with the Boston Celtics?
It starts with extending OG Anunoby because there's some reports that he's not happy with the offers they're giving.
I did see that, and that's definitely a punch to the stomach. We
need
OG.
It
lose OG, it's a problem.
And Isaiah Hartenstein.
I agree.
It starts with both.
Here's the perfect offseason for the New York Knicks. OG resigns. Isaiah Hartenstein resigns. Julius Randle, your tenure in New York was fantastic. We appreciate everything you've done for the city of New York. 2-time All-NBA. You kind of started the wave of the New York Knicks, getting back to being relevant and great again. See ya. Bring me an upgrade. Who that player is.
Not your job.
Something we could talk about. That is not my job. But we do need more scoring. And if Devin Booker's available, baby, make it happen.
I love that. That's the first. You have to look for a team that's blowing it up. And that would probably be the Suns, the first one.
Would you rather get Devin Booker or Kevin Durant if you're taking into account the assets you got to give up?
Kevin Durant.
Really?
Kevin Durant. If I don't have to trade 5 firsts, Kevin Durant. But the issue with that becomes, now what are the Suns doing to help Devin Booker?
Julius Randle.
I'm glad we're on the same page now, brother. Let's cook.
All NBA player.
Yeah.
2-time NBA player.
Don't forget it. Not once. Did it twice.
And he's due for great playoff performances.
If you do it one time, hey, it could be a fluke. You do it twice, now it's something serious.
He can thank the New York
The Knicks are up. If that's the offseason that they have.
If they get Kevin Durant, yeah, that would be a
Jalen Brown. Jalen Brunson. DiVincenzo's probably gone because probably going to have to include him to get Kevin Durant. That would be unfortunate. It definitely would hurt. Are you running Josh Hart at the 2? Don't know if I love that. OG, KD, Isaiah Hartenstein.
I'm out. I'm not doing
Listen,
that.
I'm keeping Dante.
You're not trading Dante.
You could get Julius Randle. You could get Deuce McBride. We'll give you like 3 first-round picks for KD. I'll do that.
They say we need Dante. You could keep Deuce.
And
you're saying
it's
no?
What if it's 2 picks?
It's KD.
What if it's 2 picks?
KD.
Jalen, Julius Randle, Dante DiVincenzo. But it's only 2 picks.
No.
For KD.
I'd rather keep Dante and the pick. I'd rather keep Dante and give away the extra pick and attach Deuce.
What player are you going to get that gives you a better chance to win a championship? Just say next season than Kevin.
I'm going to be honest though. I understand wanting to keep Dante.
This is
I get
crazy.
it.
But this is
it crazy? It's Kevin Durant.
Kevin Durant's turning. Hold up. Kevin Durant's turning 36.
How about your respect? He was a top 10 player.
He just got swept 2 of the last 3 playoff rounds.
That has nothing to do with him. His team's mid.
Okay, but if you're trading your depth, some key pieces like Dante DiVincenzo is just the second best shooter in the NBA this season with a handful of picks for a 36-year-old who's clearly on the decline.
And
maybe going to give you 2 years.
Julius, who they're about to make an ECF run without.
Knicks, I would rather hold on to these current players and wait for a better opportunity.
Julius is expendable.
John, I don't care
about Julius from the Knicks.
John,
I don't.
I didn't know what opportunities out there.
And if I were the Knicks, I would rather wait 1 or 2 years because we always say I don't see somebody.
So if it's Booker, yes, you do it.
Somebody does become available.
If it's Devin Booker, you do it in 2 seconds, correct?
We'd have to negotiate.
But also, 1 or 2 years,
I would give 5 first
you got
round
Jalen
picks.
Brunson,
Julius
Supermax
Randle,
is kicking in.
Yeah.
You have the OG contract.
Hey, he said that he's going to go into a
McBride.
favorable contract.
If it happens, so be it. I'm under the impression. I don't know. I'm not giving up $100 million personally.
He wants to be the king of New York. Legend.
You're just getting. I feel like financially, you get more restricted as time goes on.
This is the conversation we get into when we try to come up with the challenger in the East for the Celtics, though.
So right.
A move like Kevin Durant has to be the one that's made going to a team that's already great for
They match up well.
Boston to be
Shout out
challenged.
KD.
I look at a healthy Bucks team. I don't believe in the Bucks. I don't believe in the direction.
I don't either.
I think Giannis is still a top 3 player in the world at worst, but their direction and their depth is totally shot, and it's going to take a miracle to come back from. A revamped Sixers team, you can't trust Joel Embiid's health, and this was the best playoff series that he just had, and he was hurt. And who knows, maybe they build up a team that can compete, but it's very hard for anybody to create a team that is as talented as Boston is right now because they've made so many smart moves that have spanned across multiple seasons. I think OKC out west probably gives them the best challenge. I know that I can't sleep on Denver, but if KCP moves on, that's a huge hole at shooting guard. OKC has the chance to make the biggest splash of the offseason and come into next year with SGA, a year 2 Chet, third year Jalen Williams, who now understands what he has to work on within his game to be better, and a great supporting cast that can shoot well. If you add an all-star level player to this supporting cast, I think they are like one of the few teams that have a realistic chance.
And that's another team. If they either get one of the two, whether it's Isaiah Hartenstein or Nicholas Claxton, you really solidify that front court of theirs.
Do you want to move Chet? I think Chet the 4 is like that works, but now you also don't have your 5-out system.
I have been seeing that, but I feel like the 5-out, definitely a huge deal. But understanding that they do need help rebounding the basketball. And that's not Chet's fault. Chet is a fine rebounder his own self, but they do need help in that regard. Isaiah Hartenstein would obviously do that. Obviously would add to their defensive prowess too. But if you have 4 guys that can space the floor, it's not a murderer that one guy can't.
It's just when you get into a playoff series, that's just where 7 games you get schemed up. Like it's a lot easier to take advantage of that than if you have 5 shooters out there.
It is.
Saw. I mean, Minnesota is a different beast because you have more than just one non-shooter out there. Because Jaden could be a little, iffy. Nikhil Alexander-Walker. I think what we're saying though is whatever team, Knicks, OKC, a big swing has to be made because as the current landscape,
Orlando,
as it's currently shaped right now, Boston's going into next season as a decently heavy favorite. I think they're like plus 250 to win the chip. Next highest is like plus 600 or 650. And that's Denver at West. Yeah, and that just goes to show how much faith that Vegas has in the Celtics coming out of the East again. Because they're like, out West, we know there's a lot of teams that can do it, but we don't think any one team is dramatically better than the other. And in the East, it's the opposite, where Boston is in a tier of its own right now. Then you have Milwaukee, you have New York, what happens to Philly. But going into next season, you mentioned it, Joel, if Porzingis is able to stay healthy, if Jason Tatum shot magically finds its way back at this point, I think I have to pray for it. You have the same guys coming back. Everyone's under contract again. Al Horford said he's returning. Sam Hauser's on 1 more year. Derek White will likely get extended, if not a bare minimum, 1 more season with Derek White. This team is set up to go back-to-back. I know we say it every year after every champion, but this is a team that has 2 players in its absolute prime, playing their best basketball, who there's a world they're even better next season, which is scary to think about. And if you add just a healthy Porzingis and Tatum's shot doesn't come back, you're still sitting great. Or if the opposite happens, where maybe Porzingis is still banged up, but now Tatum is playing like the Jason Tatum we've seen, this is a completely different team. And now all of a sudden you have a solidified top 4 player in the world. So if they could just get one of those things to come back to normal, I think they're in a really good spot for next season.
There's a reason the Celtics are favored going into next year. But there's also an important note to make. It's that no team has repeated since 2017 Warriors,
it's very
2018
difficult.
Warriors. You look at 3-point variance, injuries, and then new matchups every single year. I disagree with your point, Joel, that there's not a team that can really keep up with the Celtics because we saw the Pacers get swept by them, and that was a team that most people said was a fluky Eastern Conference Finals appearance. They played the Celtics really well.
I think that's
and you
what
look
not
at the
being in
East.
It was a
you
tough
look at the state of
matchup.
the East.
It's a tough matchup, but if we're being honest, I don't think they have a chance to beat Boston respectfully.
I agree.
There's no move Indiana
look-
can make that can actually realistically they could beat Boston.
You look at the East, the first team, the Milwaukee Bucks, they weren't healthy enough to advance. If Giannis is healthy, if Damian Lillard is healthy as well, that is a contender.
They have a
You
lot
look
of
at-
holes.
Yeah, but
Their
that's
defense
also
still stinks.
it's also a team that can surely improve
And
based
Damian's
off this
getting
last
old
year.
too.
What's up?
Damian's getting older too.
How
So
do
is
you
Brook
plan on
Lopez.
improving a team that doesn't have money, that doesn't have draft picks, that doesn't have a lot of tradable assets?
And their third best player is injury prone, even though when he's on the court, he's pretty damn good in Chris Middleton.
You know what the
I'll
Bucks
play
is?
like Kobe once in the series.
This is the problem with the East is that they're the only team that has the star power to compete.
I agree.
They got the
Sixers?
top heavy. No, the Bucks. They have the
Well, I'm
top
saying
heavy
the Sixers
talent.
too.
I think the Sixers.
If they sign Paul
there's
George,
an argument for it.
If they
Maxey
sign Paul George,
and
it's up.
Embiid?
But even still,
They need to fill out a whole roster.
yeah.
Even still, you're talking about a playoff choker and then Joel Embiid, who he's wishy-washy in the playoffs. That doesn't give you the most confidence. There's really no team in the East outside of the Knicks that they make a move for a star that can realistically beat Boston in the East.
And then I look at, after the Knicks, teams like the Orlando Magic. I think the Magic are a sleeper to make a splash move this offseason. Maybe it's a Lauri Markkanen. I think that's another young team on the rise that can really compete with Boston.
That's
I
where
wouldn't
we want to
take them.
get, bro.
I wouldn't take them to beat the Celtics, but again, 3-point variance and injuries happen every year.
I mean-
This year, with the Nuggets, Jamal Murray struggles, Michael Porter Jr. shooting variance, Jamal's hurt, and then you lose Bruce Brown. Those small little things made all the difference in that team getting knocked out by a Minnesota team with way less experience.
They also blew a 20-point fourth quarter lead or
Don't
second
tell
half
me
lead,
about
whatever,
it.
in
I
the
for-
fourth.
I wanted to forget about
Game
that.
7.
I just feel as if
They're a little
there's
too far away.
more things that got to go wrong for the Celtics as opposed to the other teams. Like with the Nuggets,
Right.
okay, you could beat them if Jamal Murray's kind of having an off series.
Yep.
With Boston, I mean, Jason Tatum can have an off series and they can still win. They can sweep a team.
Yeah.
And that's
Boston's scary.
yeah, that's what
I
like,
agree.
so many things can go wrong for Boston and they can still end up winning a series. And I think that's the difference between them and other teams is the margin for error they have. You have to be perfect. You have to have the star power to compete, and you have to have the defenders to compete as well. And there just isn't teams out there that can do that. I think OKC, like, if they get Lauri Markkanen, maybe
Yeah.
we're talking.
I think OKC, if they get Laurie, that's different. You still have a ton of young players that I think they'd be underdogs going into that series, but it would
Yes.
still be a great fight. But I think Boston answered every single question coming into the season about them. What happens if they don't shoot the 3-point ball well? Well, we just saw they won in 5 games. What happens if Porzingis isn't healthy because he hasn't been healthy, unfortunately, for basically his whole career? He played in 4 or 5 games this entire postseason run. Although that game 1 win, shout to you, you'll be remembered forever. What happens if Jason Tatum struggles to shoot the ball again, like he did in the 2022 season against the Warriors? Well, that just happened, and they still won the championship. You could say that it was a favorable matchup for Boston, which I agree with. Going into the series, that was my number one reason why I just thought, player for player, Boston has more good players that match up well, but there's not a lot of teams out west that I look at a matchup perspective and say, we're screwed. Like, we need the best version from every single player to win the series. Denver is still probably that one because I don't think there's an answer for Nikola Jokic. I love Al Horford. He's probably our best bet. He's done to Giannis in the past. He's done to Joel Embiid in the past. Nikola Jokic is just a different animal. But outside of that, I don't really see a team in the West that can compete player for player against the Boston Celtics.
You fried up. I agree wholeheartedly. That being said, is Al Horford coming back next
Yeah, I
year?
wonder. Turn
He told
39.
he told the
said
owner
he
he's
is.
back.
Legend.
Yep. He's got. I think he only has 1 year left in his contract.
Yeah, the fact that everyone's coming back next year, how can we not feel the exact same way?
everybody.
You know, it's like you're gonna have Jaylen Brown another year of getting better and refining whatever he feels like he needs to work on. Most likely that jump shot, and of course, naturally ball handling, which he shut a lot of people up this season. Jason Tatum hopefully getting better at shooting the ball on a more consistent basis. But in my opinion, finding smart shots, not forcing difficult ones. I like to see as the series progressed, him being more aggressive and asserting himself in the paint. A lot of that showed in Game 5 where he was getting downhill religiously, and then that's when a lot of the offense started to click on a consistent basis. If Kristaps Porzingis he's going to be out for 3 to 4 months, get back around November, maybe early December, give him a little bit more rest where you don't necessarily need him right away. I feel like that could definitely benefit the Boston Celtics too. I think if I'm you guys, having Xavier Tillman also is a little bit of a luxury. You saw that he can come in and obviously fill a role and play at a
was so
pretty
good game.
pretty awesome
God.
level.
He was amazing
I mean, you
defensively.
guys essentially have an answer for everything. Next season, definitely talking about you guys being able to repeat as champions. But a dynasty, I feel like people naturally go with 3. You need 3 to become a dynasty. I feel like we have to wait on that. That's definitely in the it's in the cards. But Derek White also holds a big part of that too, where you had the best defensive backcourt in basketball. If you also want to throw in JB there, but of course now he's transitioned more to a wing. That is definitely a huge piece in the or a huge cog in the machine too. But this Boston Celtics team is damn near perfect. And honestly, they're just going to continue to get better. And one of the main reasons why you should have never even had the idea of breaking them up is because they're not even in their prime yet. 27, 26 years old. If they're in their prime, they just entered it.
And their bench looks a lot better now than it did when they made that Drew Holiday trade in June. Between Peyton Pritchard, the value that he gives you offensively, Sam Hauser shooting, Al Horford, and then
Sammy.
X-Man, because they have X-Man's bird rights.
You're not even talking about the 6'7" two-way demon.
Jaden Springer?
O'Shea?
You're talking about Jordan Walsh.
Jordan Walsh.
Jordan Walsh.
Who's going to be getting another year of continuity. So their bench is a pretty
He's
fun
going to be
one.
good.
I don't know why I thought you were talking about O'Shea Brissett. You never talk about
O'Shea
O'Shea
Brissett.
Is it good?
He was over there clapping back
He's a good
at
13th
people
man,
like...
He gave some good minutes in that Pacers series, man.
He did.
O'Shea Brissett did his thing.
Yo, y'all
former
saw
team.
Luka talking shit to,
Yeah,
to
said your
the
mom's a
fan?
hoe.
Your mom's a hoe was crazy.
You know that O'Shea Brissett is Tyrese Halliburton's best friend?
Really?
Yeah.
Cool.
O'Shea
He does.
Brissett,
He makes vlogs.
Facts.
Yeah,
And he went to
I
Tyrese's
walked into
crib.
this for sure.
Tyrese's crib is really nice, bro.
I bet.
Yeah. Like he
gonna
of
put a
course,
big $100 million.
yes. Outside of the money aspect, I'm talking about like the design of the crib, like his gaming room and shit. Like it's really nice.
You know you could get that in Indiana.
No, I didn't. No, he has an arcade in his gaming room that the arcade holds every like PlayStation, Xbox game ever made.
Damn.
That's fine.
Yeah.
That's that money,
kinda
I
like
guess.
the
When,
OG
when you have
Xbox.
$100 million, whatever
When you like
sign,
something,
bro,
when
it's like, I'm
when
just
you have
getting
money
everything.
and you like something, you get everything. Correct.
Also, shout out to Joe Mazzulla, man. I thought Mazzulla was fantastic this playoff run. The talk on his name after last season, I defended Mazzulla last year because, to me, I thought it was the players that didn't play well. We looked at the three-point shooting numbers, the open percentage of Miami compared to Boston last year, Al Horford falling off a cliff, Jaylen Brown, of course, struggling. I really thought last season was a lot more on the players when people were just making it out to be Mazzulla. Mazzulla wasn't perfect by any means. I think he had multiple mistakes that you could look back on, but he still took over the job 2 days before the season started. Got to a game 7 in the ECF where you're down 0-3. You have to have buy-in and collectively as a group to trust this coach. They showed that this season. They bolster up the staff, bring in Sam Cassell, and I feel like it's made a world of difference. Yeah. You know, every player, Derek White was up there tearing up saying how much he believes in Joe Mazzulla, how Joe Mazzulla turned around his career, saying that you're the point guard of this team after the 2022 finals where Derek White wasn't in the fourth quarter of games. Derek White was not on the court in that 2022 finals. He was, the transition isn't as seamless as it looks now where Derek White's all defensive team, 40% from 3. At first, it was a bit of a rocky start, but Mazzulla said, you're going to start for us. He instilled that confidence, and now you see how great Derek White has been. And I think as a whole, schematically, he was fantastic this series, taking away things that the Dallas Mavericks wanted to do. And I think offensively, he's really been able to, bring the best out of everyone, whether it's Tatum taking a playmaking leap, Drew Holiday, as we mentioned, coming off, playing off ball. Kristaps Porzingis, of course, was a great post player in Washington, but really honing in on that throughout this season where he was the most efficient post player in the NBA. So I want to give Mazzulla his props because I feel like he got shit on a ton last year for a 34, 35-year-old head coach coaching the Boston Celtics, everything coming at the same time where you're getting the job and you have all of these players and you're trying to figure everything out. You got to settle down this summer, really kind of understand how he wanted to run this team. And I think it showed dividends because every player 1 through 15 believed in him.